In the words of Hopsin himself, I feel like every guy comes to that point in his life where he changes from a boy into a man. True words, and often with that change, a lot of boys go from enjoying Hopsin's music when they were younger to growing out of it a little bit as they get older. He was teenage me's favorite rapper, but what does adult me think? Does he hit the same when you're closer to 30? Oh my god, than 20? He's a rapper that's considered by many to be corny, but is he actually that bad? Now I know what some of you might be thinking with this video title, or the fact that I'm including Hopsin in this series now. Damn CDTV, every time you mention Hopsin nowadays it's either negative or acknowledging that people don't like his music. You must hate his music now. And that's exactly why I'm making this video. You know what this series is. I'm really asking, how do I feel about Hopsin's music re-listening in 2025? There's no better way for me to answer that than by analyzing the key elements of his music, which is exactly what this series is for. Now, your next question might be, bro, is Hopsin even in the game at this point? And I mean, it's hard to say, but his most recent single at this point was only like 2 years ago, so we'll let it slide for this one. Worst case scenario, we can just change how we pronounce the title for this one. Worst rappers in the game? As you know, I've basically listened to everything he's released on streaming, albums and singles, so with that being said, let's hop straight into it.
I step in the weakest niggas who not on my pedigree, cause on the tombstone it's as hard as their name will ever be.
Hang on, I need to take this off so that it's not registering steps while I'm waving my arms about like a madman. One of the main reasons why I was inspired to make this video was something that I said in my previous Worst Rappers in the Game episode on Dax. Some Dax tracks reminded me of Hopsin a little bit, and that connection made me think, I don't feel like Hopsin's emotion has ever felt super performed or for show to me. However misplaced his emotions and anger might be sometimes, and oftentimes they are, I don't feel like I've ever listened to one of his songs and felt like he hasn't truly internally meant what he's venting about. And that is something I stand behind here. For better or worse, whether Hopsin's venom is sometimes misplaced or not, you can truly feel the emotion coming through his voice on his songs. I said there that to me, it always feels like he means what he says, and you can hear that in pretty much any song about his personal life. You see, Hopsin has a lot of enemies, and he harbors a lot of emotion towards people who he feels like have wronged him throughout his life. And you can hear that on a lot of his songs focused on these people. Whether that's past friends who have betrayed him.
You ever had a homie who was fake as fuck? Hate your guts, but the moment you came rolling through ballin', they wanna say what's up. I hope you die a bitter death and lie in the graveyard in regret where all of the foul niggas rest. You hating cause you witnessing the best. So I slotted my $100 and watch him pitch on how it ain't enough. That money got my cell, internet, and cable cut. If you seen the shit I seen, you would've taken sides with me. But you fucking disappeared and you ain't even ride with me.
Just his general stress and depression with the world.
Please tell my family and my friends this. I was never happy to begin with. I actually pretended. But y'all assume that I'm just starting nonsense. But I promise y'all, the fucking world is gonna remember Marcus Hopsin.
Or indeed, the woman he seemingly always has a bad relationship with.
See, when I'm torn, I don't take her. So she get filled with anger, thinking another woman is gonna replace her. She's standing in tears of emotion knee deep. Now heaven is gone, so is my love, and it won't return. Welcome to hell, bitch, I hope you burn, because I'm so tired. Not your friendly neighbor, but yet you called me during your labor. It's not my issue, take me off the menu. I'm not the one who put the motherfucker in you.
Obviously, we only get his perspective on his relationships with these people, but on pretty much every song, it sounds like he wholeheartedly believes what he's saying, and I think that passion in his delivery goes a long way. He sounds authentic, in my opinion. He can also be pretty solid at channeling rage and anger through his voice. The first example that comes to mind for me is Hip Hop Sinister, where he's basically yelling for all the verses.
Niggas thought they all me dissolved, and I was soft after my album raw, but no, bitch, I evolved. I'm taking over shit easily.
A similarly strong delivery is on Panorama City. It's less shouty, but I still feel like there's a good amount of power in his voice on that track.
Motherfucker, look me in the eyes and you can see it's no surprise that I've been living like there isn't a tomorrow.
When it comes to emotion and projecting it through his vocals in a way that feels real, that's a big strength of Hopsin in my opinion. When it comes to where his deliveries are weakest, I think it's no surprise to say that it's usually when Hopsin is singing, especially on a few of his hooks. Some that come to mind are Hot 16s, which has an oddly cartoonish chorus that kind of drags the song down a bit for me, which is a shame because I really like the verses for the most part. Same for About the Business. Most of the hooks on Gazing at the Moonlight, his first album, many of which have weird effects on the vocals. The soulful singing attempt on Still Got Love for You, and that weird high-pitched doubling of the chorus on Fly. And there's even that bizarre use of some very sharp-sounding auto-tune on I Can't Decide. And while I'd rather forget about this song forever, we can't go through this video, we can't go through this segment without me mentioning the dumpster fire that is Happy Ending, that not only has a terrible hook, but it's low-key, probably not even low-key, kind of racist. The worst kind of bad. I can be everything you give me 50 pounds. If you not say nothing, I can give you sucky. Never forget that I was made to listen to that song near enough 100 times on stream. For those of you who are interested in checking my streams out, they mainly happen every Wednesday and Saturday around 1 PM Eastern Time. Come and join us, it's a blast. I don't think all his hooks are bad. We're not on Tom McDonald levels of not being able to put together a chorus here. And Hopsin, again, sounds way more passionate on his hooks than Tom ever sounds, but it is one area of his songs that can be a bit flawed. And when he decides to make songs that are mostly focused on singing, it's not ideal. My Love is a pretty tough listen, combined with the fact that it's barely even romantic. Keep in mind that is supposed to be a genuine love song.
You've been the only focus since the day we met up. Every time we get into it, you got me wishing I never broke up with my girlfriend back in Marietta. I don't give a fuck what the people that surround you do believe. Ain't nobody else in the world that's out there for you but me.
And Tell 'Em Who You Got It From has Hopsin on his Drake shit. And yeah, I know what you're thinking. Doesn't really work.
I just wanted you, baby. I don't know what to do lately.
Also, because I haven't mentioned it yet, there's a chorus on his song Who Do You Think I Am, where he uses a Cookie Monster voice to say, well, just listen.
Bitch, who do you think I am? I want your pussy.
But hey, I'll give him credit where it's due. Like I said, it's not all bad, and I do quite like the choruses on songs like I'm Not Introducing You, which is just one of the best sounding Hopsin tracks overall from this era. Wonderful production on that one too. I Need Help, and Right Here.
I'm the rain that's like the shining sun, but I'll be a fool if I say you're the one. You see, I got a little plan. You know it, I'm not introducing you to mama. If you got a solution for me, you should probably holler at your boy if you know somebody. Fuck the lavish shit, man, you can have it. I came up from the gutter like some magic. Oh, yeah.
Die This Way is also pretty great because Hopsin works with someone there who actually usually sings, Matt Black, who doubles up the vocals on the pre-chorus, and it sounds pretty damn good. It's a shame Hopsin is reluctant to work with collaborators a little more often, because Die This Way overall is one of my favorite tracks from him.
The nation know that shit's encrypted. Listen, I debate. Just smile like everything's good and pretend that life is great.
He even worked with someone else on the production there, which is very rare for Hopsin. So yeah, the hooks are more of a mixed bag than a downright flop for me personally. Now when it comes to his flows, this is one of the strongest aspects of Hopsin's music to me, if not the strongest. he knows how to smoothly glide over his instrumentals. I think this has always been a solid point in his music, but it's definitely sharpest from his No Shame project onwards. Songs like Twisted, I Wouldn't Do That, and singles like Die This Way, Picasso, and Kumbaya have him just gliding over his instrumentals so smoothly with really nice flow switches in there as well.
Made a hundred motherfucking K last week. Niggas feeling me like Mr. King last beat. When he mixing a lot of hardcore revenge, a pitchfork and sends the misfortune win.
But the word on the avenue is now they wanna watch you pee like a fucking pervert in the bathroom, nigga. Ew, yuck. The ladies always tell me I'm a real cunt.
Even a lot of people who don't like Hopsin usually say something along the lines of, yeah, I find him super corny or weird, but the guy can rap. And I think a big part of that is the fact that his flow has always been pretty smooth. Hell, he even tries some trap style flows on his mainstream parody No Words tracks, and honestly, he kinda has that shit down too.
I fight your bitch, I'm like that. I fight your bitch when I'm wearing pajamas. Look at me, kinda Mendelis. Look at me, kinda Mendelis. Look at me, kinda Mendelis.
Like, those are clearly joke songs, but there's something catchy going on there. I went to the doctor, he looked at my dick and he said I got rabies. I wouldn't say he has the absolute best flow that I've ever heard, but man, it's solid and a strength in his music for sure. So for my ratings here, I'm gonna go with a 7 for Hopsin's voice and a 7.5 for his flow. Starting off pretty nice, to be honest. I think when you're looking at these fundamental aspects of his music, nothing feels particularly bad here. There is the shaky choruses and the fact that he can't really sing, of course, but that's not prominent enough for me to lower his voice score majorly. And again, like I said, even when he's singing pretty badly, there still is the passion in there that makes it halfway work a lot of the time. And as I said, for his flow, it's pretty much always been solid.
Fuck your new Versace, you can get a cutthroat and deep throw the dick till it's poking out through your butthole. Swallow the nut hole.
Hopsin's lyrics. When it comes to this category, I feel like we almost need to talk about it in two subsegments. His technique and his content. I'm sure you know why I'm doing this, because one of these is mostly positive and the other is sometimes great, sometimes disastrous. Let's start off on the good end with the technique. When it comes to Hopsin's technique, he's good. It's solid. If you ask me, he's not the absolute best in the game when it comes to technique. He's not got the best wordplay, rhyme schemes, or storytelling of all time. But what makes his technique generally work for me is that he's decently well-rounded in all of these areas, which definitely counts for something. His rhyme schemes can sound fairly dense with smooth multi-syllable rhyming. The caveat to this is he does sometimes say odd phrases or words things a little awkwardly to maintain a rhyme scheme for his whole verse.
I'm more deceiving in person, screaming and cursing. Fuck the world with penis insertions.
And I think we do have a good chunk of examples of rhymes over substance, a little bit of word salad, if you will, particularly when he's brag rapping, rather than talking about his personal life or issues within it. But I definitely don't find his multi-syllable rhyming as forced as some other rappers that I've heard.
I'm somewhere underground, but got the commercial elements. According to Ruthless Records, it wasn't evidence, so I'm a 9/11 to label bitches to hell with it. Kids run up on your school campus and slap a dame. I grew up on baggy jeans, pornographic, nasty dreams. Moral of my damn story, life is in that happy scene. Nate Palm in my dang palm, I'm a dark villain like Blaze Bond or Akon with a cape on. It ain't fun, you can't run. This is a horror flick your life is based on. This is war, gentlemen. My flow is filled with more venom than George Zimmerman in his car, chilling with a loaded 44 tucked into a drawer, fidgeting. The new album of 2015. I'm too violent, the shit seems like I'm cooped out with lucid dreams. I'm a new route for these MCs.
And honestly, even when his rapping is a bit word salady, I do think the fact that his delivery is pretty strong and he raps with conviction is a decent tool for kind of disguising the fact or masking the fact that sometimes he's not really saying all that much. And when the multi-syllable rhyming is used in verses about his life or airing out his grievances, I would say that's where they're most effective. And when it comes to laying out stories within his music and writing structure, I feel like he has some solid skill for that too. Most of the tracks in his Ill Mind of Hopsin series are structured very well, usually building themes nicely throughout the song before culminating in an impactful final verse or section. And then the content. That's where things can be a mixed bag. Hopsin is extremely open and honest in his music, and that can be a commendable thing. It's one of the things that drew me to his music at first, because it felt like you could listen to an album from him and pretty much just know him from that. But sometimes that leads to some wild tracks. Take, for example, the 2 songs where he talks about paying for sex on his No Shame album, Money on the Side, and the aforementioned Disaster, Happy Ending. Listening to them is not a comfortable experience.
19, pretty young thing from the Midwest. Oh, yes. Got a long week ahead of her. When I call, she get dressed. She does. She don't complain cause she knows the deal cause I pay her well. I do. She struggle with cash and I stress a lot, so it's easy, bro. It is. I hit it about 5 times a day, yes, I'm proud. So proud. When she's in my house, she knows no clothes allowed.
Then told me to come away into the counter.
Then she asked me if I wanted to get a session for 30 minutes or an hour.
And keep in mind, he said basically everything he raps about on this album is true, hence the title No Shame. Like, I don't think Money on the Side sounds anywhere near as cool as Hopsin maybe thinks that it does, and Happy Ending is self-explanatorily bad, if that makes sense. And then there is the whole debacle of how this ties into the album, because the album opens up with Hotel in Sydney, where Hopsin reveals that he was crushed when he found out that his girl had been cheating on him and lying to him about it. It broke his heart, as you would expect, and is one of the things that led to their eventual breakup. And then he has several lines throughout the album where he talks about doing the cheating himself or facilitating somebody else cheating.
She got a man and I have a girl, I know. So everything we do, we just keep it on the low. I was you heffing on the low when my girl found out. She was like, you bastard. It's so obvious you never even loved me, you stupid ugly motherfucker, fuck you and her.
And then it's like, how much sympathy can I feel here? Because you know how bad being cheated on feels, but then you're knowingly inflicting that pain onto other people. It can basically be a bit conflicting with how open he is in his music. He always seems to have a beef with somebody, and that can be pretty fun to listen to when it's on a track that mixes it with a bit of self-deprecation, like the hilariously funky Gimme That Money. That track is so goofy and doesn't really fit the album that it's on in terms of its sound, but I genuinely think that one's pretty fun.
Made her a love song and she was like, no bitch. Gave me the song back and I was like, oh shit, I'm so stupid, I should've never wrote this. Then last year I ran into her in the Walgreens. She was like, Marcus, how are you? Oh my God, you finally made it, I'm so proud of you. She said she didn't have a vehicle to drive to work in, so she came and asked me for 2 G's. And although I wasn't that concerned, she said her mom would pay me back. She said she isn't gonna pay and you can drop dad, cause I got into a fight with her, she's a hothead. I'm like, that's between you two, not me.
And other times it can be so much anger and misanthropy that it can be a little exhausting going through his projects. We also have to mention the corny lines because you know they're present in here. I'd be repeating myself to bring up his I'm the shit like I slithered in poop line from Hop Is Back, but strange bars like that are pretty common in his music, and I imagine it's another one of the main things that put people off a little bit. It's probably the worst on Knock Madness and Pound Syndrome, where it feels like he just can't finish a song without throwing some really gross or awkward sounding sex lyric in there. Maybe it's a symptom of trying to stick to the multi-syllable rhyme scheme, but it kills the vibe of some tracks when he just starts randomly talking about syphilis cooches and sperm cells climbing out of assholes.
I'm sick of this sticking my freaking dick inside a bitch's syphilis cooch. It's not mad. You just a sperm cell that climbed up out of your dad's rectum.
It really annoys me on the song I Just Can't. The beat is so damn hard, but Hopsin pretty much ruins it by rapping about, and I'm not joking, necrophilia, getting his dick sucked, and Asian massage parlors, giving us a little bit of foreshadowing for Happy Ending a couple of years before it even came out.
I'm posted in a bungalow, getting deep throat from a juggalo. Please do not get your face paint on my stomach, ho.
Fuck a hoe and use the same condom on the next bitch. Nasty ass nigga having sex with a dead chick. Film it with the GoPro, slow-mo, and upload it to Netflix. Do you know where I can find a little Asian parlor where I play with my balls like a game of soccer and fuck me too for like $80?
But it's worth noting that at least temporarily, Hopsin's lyrics did seem to mature as he was going through a period of self-discovery in around 2021. This is when he released the song Your House, a pretty heartbreaking account of his childhood and the abuse that his mother suffered at the hands of his father.
Man, I don't even know what happened. I was born inside of this shit, my fucking parents scrapping. I was mortified as a kid. You know the pain when your parents tell you to go and play, then hours later you see your mom and she got a swollen face. I hope you don't relate.
That's where the title of the song comes from. It's Hopsin asking one of his friends as children if he can go and stay at their house because he just wants to escape from that.
I wanna stay at your house tonight, cause I don't wanna hear my dad fight mama no more.
It's all tied up with one of his most mature verses at the end, talking about the cycle of abuse and advocating for therapy.
With all those traumas I had, stuck with me as an adult, and it ignited these mad thoughts that I seem to have often. Then we subconsciously air and project the nightmares and the stress that we dealt with when we were younger. And that's why therapy's best. Listen, then assume that it won't impact them. Children follow the protocol of the parents' blueprint, so when there's an issue, they might handle it just how you did.
Hell, even Fantano was caught off guard by how solid that verse was. That's gotta count for something if you know his general Hopsin opinions.
Bro. I have listened to and I reviewed many a Hopsin song. That was the most aware, smart, measured, and one of the most thoughtful things I think he's ever said on a track.
Alone With Me was interesting as well. It almost leans more towards being grim and dark rather than emotional like Your House was, but it sees Hopsin almost personifying the darkest side of his depression that tells him that he isn't shit, he hasn't amounted to anything, and he should end it all.
Do you remember me? Cause I've been with you since a teen, fucking you up mentally. Nigga, you 35, you haven't found a wifey yet? I mean, if I was you, would I be stressed? YES. Nigga, put the mic down, don't you fight this fight. Cause you the corny rapper only weird white kids like.
Sadly, the album that these were singles for never came out, so I don't think we'll ever necessarily expand on this sort of enlightened Hopsin run. It's a shame because it seemed to be heading in a promising direction. I remember at the time he was talking about being in hypnotherapy and that sort of unlocking memories of his childhood and how that kind of helped to explain things in his life in the modern day. It seemed like it would be an album that really dove deep and tried to analyze his life a little bit more. So with Hop's lyrics, it's genuinely a little tricky. I think how you feel about them depends on how much his attitude towards things and his perspective within his writing rubs you the wrong way, and whether or not that's enough to cancel out the technical talent that's clearly on display. For me, I still enjoy listening to his songs, despite the fact that it's very easy for me to point out flaws within them and common patterns like his sometimes, let's say, questionable attitudes towards women. There's enough in his lyricism for me to slightly outweigh the general corniness and all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna go with a 6 out of 10 for Hopsin's lyrics here. A rating that would be higher without some of the flaws that are in there, but I think that's reasonable.
I aim for your dome, bow, I'm digging your grave, there's no other way it can go. Look, bruh, it's too late, the beast has been woke.
This is one of those rare examples within this series where the beats can be credited to the rapper that I'm covering, which is always an added bonus if they're a decent producer. In the case of Hopsin, across his whole discography, there's maybe 2 or 3 songs that he didn't produce entirely by himself. And I'd say this is a pretty cool thing because you can see how he evolved his production style over time. As is to be expected, early on in his career is where you're gonna find the most clunky beats. His debut album, Gazing at the Moonlight, has plenty of cheap sounding West Coast influenced production, along with a lot of songs that annoyingly incorporate sounds from the song titles into the production itself, like bubblies and slurping.
Like a fat man with diarrhea problems, you could take away too many bites of pizza cobbler. If I get in the game, yep, I properly rob them. I like girls who like slurping. I
I like girls who like slurping.
There's still some cool stuff there, like the dark crystal meth, and his drums are pretty decent. It's just obviously a bit clunkier. When we get to Raw, that's where his style starts getting more defined. You see a lot of elements there that would become commonplace in his music. Dark pianos, electric guitars, dramatic strings, a generally dark sound palette to create a certain atmosphere.
You're gone, you're dead. You'll never know that I was sorry. When the sun's down, nocturnal rainbow soaring in the air so high.
This is still quite early on, so his production doesn't sound fully polished yet, but it's this project where I feel like his potential as a producer really starts to shine through. Then we get to 2013's Knock Madness, a bit of an inconsistent album in terms of the different sounds that it goes for between tracks, but the production definitely sharpens more on here. And this album is where I think one of Hopsin's biggest strengths in his beatmaking becomes apparent. This man knows how to make his drums absolutely thump. The drum patterns are always nice, and the drum sounds are usually pretty great as well. From previous videos I've watched of him producing back around this era, I'm pretty sure he said what he likes to do is layer his kicks so that they just have some extra punch to them, and you can really feel that in a lot of these beats. And there are some sections here that I absolutely love in regard to how the drums hit. The drum rolls on The Fiends Are Knocking and the outro on I Need Help are some that instantly come to mind for me. There's beats here and there I don't care for on this project. I think Rip Your Heart Out is a supremely ugly sounding instrumental, for example.
Loaded up and I'm ready for combat. Standing out like I'm Khalifa's blind patch. When I come at you with vicious artillery, you wouldn't want it like to make us contract.
But for the most part, it's cool. 2015's Pound Syndrome is honestly a mostly forgettable album, but the production is still solid there, I guess. And then 2017's No Shame is probably his best produced album. The best way that I can describe it is that all of the beats sound crisp. Highlights are the West Coast banger that is Panorama City, Witch Doctor with its hard-hitting drums, and I really like Marcus's Gospel, giving us a completely different church-like style of track from Hopsin.
That's just how it was since Crystal took my nigga Jesse. Yeah. It's me against the planet, motherfuckers gon' respect me. Yeah.
Could it be any clearer? When I look in the mirror, I just see a jackass with a tail to pin. Me and my family ain't close, so I got some fame and went ghost.
Funnily enough, one of the few beats that I don't really care for as much on that project is the only one on there not produced by Hopsin, Black Sheep, which is instead produced by Harry Fraud. I like a lot of Harry Fraud beats, I think he's a great producer, but for whatever reason, that one's just never really hit for me.
But I do give a fuck, and I'm trapped inside my mind, there ain't no loosening up.
And I haven't even touched on his singles yet here. Those are usually his tracks with the best beats. It often feels like Hop puts way more focus into his non-album singles than his album tracks. In fact, I think he's actually been on record within interviews and all that kind of stuff, saying that he often does put more focus into his singles and he doesn't consider himself as being the best album artist.
And so different people have, different strengths, when it comes to this rap stuff. And one of my weaknesses has been albums. I feel like I can make a killer single, but when you get, 15 Hopsin songs all together, you're going to be like, I don't know about all that. Like, give me those. And I understand. I understand because I've never gone into an album with the direction, like directing an album. I've always just had songs.
That's
and then
interesting.
Put them together.
I want to say from like 2016 with Illmind 8 and Bout the Business onwards, that's where you're getting some of his hardest hitting production. There's those tracks, Die This Way, Picasso, Kumbaya, Arrival, Rebirth. Chances are, if it's a single, the drums are gonna hit like crazy, as well as just generally having a really cool sound overall.
Bitch, if you do not know who I am, research. They really hit it when the bad guy
So overall, his production is pretty good to me. It's had some flaws throughout the years, with his earlier stuff often sounding cheap and unpolished, but he's always had solid ideas for the beats, and I respect the fact that he pretty much produces everything by himself. From the videos he's uploaded a long time ago of him making beats in his basement studio, as far as I can tell, it doesn't look like he's using a crazy amount of loops or anything like that. Not that there's necessarily anything wrong with that, but it is quite cool to see that a lot of the sounds he's straight up playing them.
Oh my god, I hate fucking making beats.
On his keyboard, and I think that's pretty commendable. I'm gonna go with a 7.5 out of 10 for Hopsin's production. Being self-produced, you get to see how he improves not only as a rapper, but as a beatmaker over time. And in the 2020s especially, his stuff sounds fully polished and complete. It's a shame we very well might not be getting an album with his modern level of production skill on it.
That means I gotta work harder just to get by, cause if I don't, we'll be struggling for the rest of our life. Fuck!
So, how do I feel about Hopsin's music now in 2025 after not revisiting it in full for a long time? Well, I do think the claims of him being the worst rapper to ever grace a microphone are greatly exaggerated, but there's also a part of me that does agree that you tend to rank him a little lower the more that you expand your music taste and the more rappers that you listen to. Now, talking about how I feel about his albums ranked from best to worst is kind of interesting because, as we've discussed previously, a lot of his best songs are not on his albums, but here's how I feel about them. Raw is still his best album for me, probably. What a wonderful cover that is, huh? I really saw nothing wrong with this when I was like 12 or 13, but looking at it now, what the fuck was he thinking when he cooked this up on Photoshop? I get the Saw reference, but it just looks goofy. The flaws are there. It sounds pretty budget because, well, it was, being his first independent album and probably made with the budget of a ham sandwich, and some of the tracks do go a bit too graphic and edgy for their own good, with more of a horrorcore focus here, but Hopsin was clearly hungry on this project, and gave you a pretty perfect insight into his life, motivations, and personality around this time period. Next up, I'd probably have No Shame. It has one of the worst Hop tracks ever with Happy Ending, and the No Shame concept leads to some pretty uncomfortable moments, but this album is his cleanest in terms of the sound, and he has some crazy good flows on this one. It's got a similar level of focus to Raw in a way, and shows Hopsin giving an unflinching look at his life once again. Then I'd have Knock Madness. I enjoy this one, but it's definitely inconsistent with its sound, probably resulting from the fact that, if I remember correctly, the first version of this album got corrupted, like all of it, and Hopsin didn't have it backed up, so basically had to recreate the album from scratch. But it's still a step up in some ways from Raw, and there are some highlights on there. Following that, I'd have Haywire, his collab album with Swizz. It's basically a Raw bonus disc that also happens to have a collaborator on it, and that's cool. It's fine, but inessential. There's some cool Hopsin tracks on there, but overall, you don't really need to listen to it. Second from the bottom, I'd have Pound Syndrome. This was honestly pretty disappointing when it came out. Outside of a few tracks, it doesn't really feel all that inspired, and it almost comes across as Hop making music on autopilot. And lastly, we have his debut album, Gazing at the Moonlight. Some promising tracks on here like I'm Here, Story of Mine, Crystal Meth, and the hilarious Motherfucker, but it is hampered by its overwhelmingly budget sound, and the fact that Hopsin's immature sense of humor is probably at its worst on a lot of it. So yeah, what you'll notice here overall is that Hopsin got pretty solid ratings for each segment because he genuinely does have some solid attributes when it comes to rapping. How he uses his talents is where mileage may vary wildly from person to person, but for me personally, I think he's still a fairly enjoyable 6 out of 10 when it comes to this section right here. There's still many aspects of his music that I'm critical of, and sure, he has made a couple of all-time garbage songs, but there's a good amount of stuff to enjoy with his music, as far as I'm concerned.
Soon after I dropped Raw, the spotlight creeped up. I received love from fans throughout the world, yeah, it seems nuts. Is it God or could it be luck?
So, if we add up the scores that I gave Hopsin in this video and then divide them by 5, he gets a final rating of 6.8 out of 10. It's lower than I would have rated him when I was younger, for sure. I think the more you expand and branch out to other rappers, the more you can see certain areas in which Hop's rapping is lacking, but despite that, there's still something for me within his music. I do think Hopsin functioned pretty well as an entry point into hip-hop for a decent chunk of people, and that wouldn't really be possible if he wasn't at least good in some areas. This places him at the number 8 spot in my worst rappers in the game ranking list, placing him in the not the worst section, a bit above Migos, and just below 21 Savage. Keep in mind that I haven't re-ranked this list in a while, so I might go through it soon and shift some things around, change certain spots, but at the end of the day, it's more of just an approximation of how I feel and not a 100% objectively true to my opinion ranking of these rappers. All of this is made up at the end of the day. These ratings, these rankings, who really cares? It's just a bit of fun, man. So now I'll pass the question over to you guys. How do you feel about Hopsin's music? Let me know down in those comments below. This was a really fun video to do, almost as like a revisiting my earlier music taste kind of video, and I'm definitely considering a couple more of those for this series. I might even do one as the next episode, so keep an eye out for that. Thank you for watching this one. It did take me a little longer to get this ready than I was planning, but I am still trying my best to get these worst rappers in the game episodes out more frequently, because you guys always make it abundantly clear that you want more and more of these, and I'm happy to provide them. If you'd like to catch up, I'll leave a Worst Rappers in the Game playlist link on the screen right there for you guys, and much love to my channel members and Patreon supporters over there, with a special shout out to Elena Noseball, Henry Flores, who is on the Patreon and a top tier channel member, so double shout out right there. I am Regent and Nail Striker.